Hello everyone, thank you for joining us today. My name is Clayton Ostler with Content Watch. I'm going to be the demonstrator for today's webinar. We appreciate your time and your interest. I'm going to leave this welcome to the webinar slide up for just a few minutes as I get started, because one of the most common questions we get when people join this webinar is, I can't hear anything, how do I join the audio? And obviously I won't be able to tell them that if they can't hear me. So I'm going to leave this up for just 1 minute. To give you kind of an overview of what we're going to cover today, we're going to cover safeguarding Android devices. That will be both from inappropriate content and things like spyware and malware. I'm going to cover some tips and tricks, some things you can do. I also would like to let you know that specifically today we are only going to be talking about Android devices. So if you have a question about something like an iPod or an iPhone or an iPad, we do have other webinars that have covered this topic in the past. I would encourage you to take a look at those, because today we're actually going to talk only about Android devices. This is just the introduction screen of what we're going to talk about, as I mentioned. And my name is Clayton Ostler, and I've been with Content Watch for over 12 years now. Content Watch is the makers of a product called Nanny and a business product called Content Protect. We've been around for about 15 years protecting families. We sell in over 157 countries, and this number here where it says served over 1 million families is actually getting close to the 2 million mark. So we're proud of the number of families that we're able to help protect and keep safe online. As I mentioned before, we do have other webinars. Every webinar that we present online is recorded, as is the webinar today. We record the webinars, we'll edit it and make it into a video format, something that you can stream and watch from your home or your tablet or your smartphone. And you can find any of those at nanny.com in the Learning Center. And these are just some of the webinars that we have now. As I did mention, we do have a great one about how to protect your kids on an iPhone or iPod Touch, if that's what you're looking for today. I kind of just want to talk about some marketing trends, some interesting things that are happening in the industry right now, in the world we live in. This actually shows the total number of mobile devices that were shipped per year and per type of device. Now, contrary to what you'd believe, my 14-year-old daughter would have you believe that everyone on the planet owns an iPhone. But if you take a look at these numbers here, obviously it's very clear that Android is shipping a lot of devices. It's the industry leader in the number of devices out there right now, and it's just growing. So this kind of justifies the need for protecting these devices, and hence the option to install filters or use the features that I'm going to show you today. Another really interesting trend is the number of people who actually own smartphones or mobile devices. It's growing rapidly. In 2012, it was 1.2 billion people. In 2013, it's 1.8, and they're estimated that by 2017, 4.4 billion people will own their own mobile device of some type, which is a growing number, and it means that it's something that all of us are going to have, obviously. Something that's really interesting about the mobile devices that we have is the way that we're actually using these mobile devices. This information here basically just shows the types of applications or purposes that we use our mobile devices for. An interesting thing about the mobile device usage is that it is no longer just something that people use to send and receive email or to surf the internet on, but we do a lot of other things with them, like apps, streaming music, watching videos, instant messaging, social networking. It's all part of what we use the mobile device for, and I'll talk about that a little bit today when we talk about mobile apps. Between 2008 and 2014, the number of mobile apps that we're installing on this device has increased by tenfold. So in 2008, we would average 10 to 15 apps installed on a mobile device, and now the average Android user has 125. And another interesting piece of information is that the internet is being saturated or used more and more by mobile devices every year. 35% of all internet traffic in May of 2013 was by mobile devices. The things I want to cover today, obviously for Android devices, are buying apps. How is it safe? How should I do it? What things should I look for? One real common question we get from a lot of users is, is it safe for me to go out and just buy this app? I want to talk about mobile browsers, some of the threats that we should be aware of and how you can protect against those. We'll talk about apps and app managers, and we'll also talk about how you can really lock down a device if that's a concern for you. The first thing we'll talk about, obviously, is buying apps. So there are many ways you can now purchase mobile applications. Cell phone carriers have integrated billing into their cell phones, so you can, for example, purchase on your Sprint account and it will just show up on your Sprint bill. Along with that, you can also purchase with a credit card, with PayPal, with gift cards. And so a lot of people ask, well, what's safe and what should I set up? I'm giving my 10-year-old a tablet for Christmas, and I want to know how I can purchase apps and still have it be safe. So let me give you a few suggestions. The first suggestion I would suggest is that you only purchase apps from reputable sources. Now, there are many app stores out there for Android. One of the nice things about Android is that it's open and really anyone could create their own app store. And I'm not saying these other app stores are not safe or that they're unreputable, but in my case, my suggestion would be to only purchase apps through Google Play and Amazon. Now that's an opinion. I'm not downplaying or saying that these other vendors are irresponsible with your money, but these two are very responsible. They're well known in the industry, and they're already embedded or included in your Android device. Every Kindle Fire device is already hooked up to Amazon Marketplace, and every other Android device that is Google certified is already hooked up to a Google Play Marketplace. So it makes it very easy. Both of these have settings in them also that can be set where you are requiring a user to enter a password before they purchase. Both of these have the option to say never, to say within 15 or 30 minutes, or to say for every purchase. I would suggest, if you're setting up a device for someone in your family, a child, for example, that you set this to always require a password for every purchase. That way, you can't type in your password and hand it to your child and come back a week later and find out that they've bought 3 or 4 other apps or done an in-app purchase that you were unaware of, because it will require your password every time you want to purchase. The last option or alternative that I would suggest is the option of using gift cards. This is great for teens because now you're not setting up an account and associating an email address and a credit card number with it, but they're actually just typing in a code where they get credit on these marketplaces. Both Amazon and Google support these options. It's a great way to make sure that your credit card information is not being stored somewhere if that's a concern from you, but it still allows you to purchase those apps. One other suggestion that I would have is that you consider picking one or the other, but not try to mix the two. The only reason I say that is that if you purchase an app on Google Play, let's say, for example, I go purchase the latest Angry Birds app, and I pay for it. If I browse through the Amazon Marketplace, it's unaware that I've already purchased that app. And so it could actually try to get me to purchase the app again, or you could forget where you've purchased the app, and if you need to re-download it, if I go looking for it in Amazon and I paid for it in Google, they're going to want to charge me for it. So just from personal experience, I would suggest pick one of the two for your device, because mixing and matching, it causes a little bit of confusion. But you could do both. Many devices will allow you to hook up to the Amazon Marketplace and Google Play. It would just depend on if you're willing to manage the headache, I guess. So I want to talk a little bit about mobile browsers. So mobile browsers are similar to the browsers we use on our desktop computers or on our laptops, in that they're basically a window into the internet. Mobile browsers are becoming very complex. They're smart. They have most of the functionality that's found in desktop browsers. They can stream video and do JavaScript and allow you to interact with websites just like you could on a desktop computer. Yes, you're right, and I apologize that there is a typo in that. So anyways, the point of mobile browsers is that there are hundreds of these, and there's new ones coming out all the time. They're typically free. They're found on the Google Marketplace or Amazon. You can download them from other locations. All these browsers basically do the same thing. The hard thing about a mobile browser, if you're concerned about content for your family, is that there are no controls or reports of what kind of sites are being visited. So if you're concerned about your teen going to inappropriate websites or someone accidentally being exposed to a website that you don't want to see, or many of those other concerns, these free browsers don't have any controls, and they definitely don't have any reporting. Another really important part about browsers is that there are so many of them, is that when parents take a look at their tablet, they see a whole bunch of icons, but they don't even necessarily know what those are. For example, if I saw this penguin down in the right-hand corner, I'd have no idea what that actually is, other than I play around with technology a lot so that I know that it's a browser. But to the average parent, the robot, the dolphin, people aren't going to really know what those are. So those are some of the problems that are presented with mobile browsers. Simplest solution for mobile browsers is to install a filtering web browser. There are several of these available. You can get them on the Google Marketplace. You can get them from Amazon. But there's a downside with a filtering web browser, and that is that all the other browsers on the device are still not protected. So if I ran out and got a mobile browser that does content filtering, there's nothing to prevent someone or one of my kids from just using another browser. Also, Android has an embedded browser called the browser, and that you cannot remove from a device. It's included on every device, and there's no content filtering applied to that. So that's kind of an issue. So to really solve the browser issue, you're kind of like this guy with his fingers in the dike. You may run out and install a filtering web browser, but there's other ways that this content's going to get in and other issues that arise. So to really solve this issue, you really need to do three things. And I'll cover these as I speak about apps as well. But the first one is you need a filtering web browser. But the other part of that is you need a way to block other non-filtered browsers. And then you also need a way to stop browsers from being installed. So obviously if I go through and I say, okay, I'm going to block Google Chrome and the default browser, and here's our new content filtering web browser, I'm going to obviously need some way to stop kids or a family from going in and just installing a new browser. And that's what we consider an app manager, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. So the other concern, one of the other concerns that we talk about is the concept of apps. And I showed this data at the beginning of the demonstration, but the apps on our devices are growing every day. We have, on average, 125 of these installed. The problem with apps are that they're not a clear view of, parents don't have a clear view of how the app is being used. And these are just some apps that I took some screenshots of, but there are hundreds of apps that have inappropriate content in them that are not necessarily a web browser. There's new apps every day. These apps could be ways to communicate with others, sexting apps, inappropriate pictures, like some of these pictures I'm showing you here. Obviously, these apps are ways that kids or families can access inappropriate content without actually opening a web browser. One of the other issues with apps is that they're also a good way to become infected or get malware installed on your mobile device. Now, most of us are familiar with the concept of a virus on a computer or a PC. In the case of mobile devices, most malware is actually just an app. It's an app that you've selected to install, and it's doing things in the background on your mobile device that you're unaware of. Some of the things these apps do are they'll send SMS messages, or they'll relay messages for other people. They'll use your data. They'll look at your contact list, keystroke logging. I mean, you can see the list here on the left-hand side. And the thing about these malware apps is that makes them different from desktop computers is they don't get installed accidentally. The way that they're installed is by you selecting to install an app. And then the app does what it was designed to do. So there's a few things you can do to kind of help safeguard against this. The first one is that you can choose where you want to install applications from. Similar to the purchasing option I mentioned at the beginning of the demonstration, you can choose to only install apps from specific locations. Android devices, including Kindle Fires, have an option where you can say block unknown sources or install, in the case of Kindle it says allow installation of applications from unknown sources. Both of these by default are on a new Android device, which means if I buy a new Android tablet, by default the only place I can install an application from is the Google Play Marketplace. If I buy a new Kindle Fire, the only place that I can actually install new apps from is the Amazon Marketplace. That's a good setting. It's a good setting to leave on. Really, there's not a lot of reason to turn that off. And usually when people want to turn it off, it's because they want to download an application and install it from another store or another website. And that's where you can really get risky applications that potentially have malware and spyware. And a lot of inappropriate content is found in these type of applications as well. So that's a great setting to leave on if it's on, and if it's not, to go ahead and turn it back on your devices. Along with that, both of these marketplaces, Google and the Kindle Fire or Amazon Marketplace, have options for limiting the types of content that's available. Now, I'll be honest, this is not 100% accurate, but it's a good setting to set on your devices. If you open the Google Play Marketplace or the Amazon Marketplace, they'll have an icon that looks just like the one that I've circled here. This is how you get into settings. If you go to settings and then you go to content filtering or content types, you'll see these two screens. In the Google Play Marketplace, you can choose the kind of apps that are available. Everyone, low maturity, medium, high, or show them all. In the case of Amazon, you can choose to block specific types of content, but you'll notice as far as apps are concerned, it's either on or off. But the great thing about doing this is that if I have a small child, I'm fairly confident that I only want them to access content from the Google Play Marketplace that has an everyone rating. The downside of both of these is that the rating system for Android apps is not very accurate, and it's really falling upon developers to rate their own apps. So don't assume that you're totally protected by setting this, but it's a great way to set it, and it also helps some of those inappropriate apps from showing up when you're doing a search. When you're just browsing the Android Marketplace and you want to see what apps are out there, any of those inappropriate ones will not just appear. So that's a great setting. The other option is including what's called an app manager. App managers have been around for a long time. They're included in what are called MDMs. MDMs are typically made for businesses or organizations, and that stands for mobile device management. And that's really the concept of a business blocking or denying apps or the way you use a mobile device. But really, families need this same functionality. This screenshot I'm showing you here is included in Nanny, but other app managers are available as well. But what this does is it allows you to see the apps on a device. A mobile device manager will allow you to block apps, block the installation of new apps, or block even existing apps that are on the device. So from the screen I'm showing you here, this is a list of the Android devices the apps that are on this Android device, and then I can choose ones that I actually want to block. Good app managers allow you to do things like block new apps or approve apps before they're allowed to run. Stop the installation of apps, do things like control where applications can be installed from, and then you can also get information about the apps that are on the device. Obviously, the key with this is it takes care of that issue with content filtering web browser. If you put a content filtered web browser on there and you're not managing the apps, there's nothing to prevent someone from just going and getting a new application installed. And I'll talk a little bit about some of the other features that this allows you to do. But when you put an app manager on, you can also do things like block access to settings on the device, so people can't go in and disable some of the other settings that I've just shown you a moment ago. So this is just kind of a slide with some general tips that a lot of people will consider when they're going to install an app itself. So this allows you to, this is basically just ideas on what you should consider before you install an app. In Android, every time you install an app, the Android installation manager will tell you what that application is going to have access to. I think all of us have seen this before, but nobody ever really reads the screen. But it tells you, hey, this is going to have access to your locations or access to your phone calls. It can have information on of your contacts. I mean, it will tell you exactly what the application is going to do. I suggest reading that. This example here on Facebook on the left-hand side tells you exactly what the Facebook app is going to have access to. If you're uncomfortable with some of those, don't install the app. Along with that, question yourself, is it a known app? A lot of times, especially within teens, people will say, hey, there's this new app out, go install it. If you're not confident in what the app is, just because you've heard of it before, doesn't necessarily mean that it's safe. Take a look in the market. In both Amazon and Google, you can get information about how many people have installed the app. You can view the ratings on the app. You can see the reviews. You'll see commonly, hey, I installed this app, it works great. Or, hey, I installed this app and it stole all my contacts. I mean, people will post that type of information in there. So it's good to read. And the last one, just make sure you're comfortable with what that app is going to have access to. These are just tips. There's no technology to this. It really just comes down to reading before you install something. The last portion I really wanted to talk about today is the concept of blocking settings. So I see a lot of people that say, well, can't the kids just go change this back? Or can the kids alter this? Or can my teen reset these settings? And the truth of the matter is, if you don't block access to their settings on their device, yes, they can. Now, in the case of Google Play Marketplace and Amazon, access to those maturity rating settings are password protected. So if it's tied to your Google account or to your Amazon account, they can't go in and make those changes. But other things on the device, like changing the Wi-Fi, connecting to a new network, removing apps, that's all available under the settings portion. And if you're concerned about someone changing settings or removing apps from a device, then the kind of the extreme method is the option to block settings. There's two other alternatives that you can consider for tablets that are called restricted mode, or Kindle Fire has a mode called child mode. In the case of an Android tablet that's not a Kindle, you need to be running version 4.2 and above, and it needs to be a tablet. These options are not available on phones. And what this does is it allows you to basically create a restricted user that can't go get any new apps, that can't install anything, that only has access to what you provision them as that child or as the restricted user. The catch to that is a lot of times you'll set that up and it makes it so restrictive that the kids don't have access to the resources or tools that they're going to want or need. So let me kind of review some of the things that we talked about, give you a short recap of the ideas that we have. First of all, it's very safe to purchase apps, but you need to make sure that you're careful with the settings that you set up for the app stores that you manage. Make sure that you never remember the password, because when you do that, it opens your device up to in-app purchases that maybe you didn't intend to make. It also makes it so it's a one-click purchase. In the case of Amazon, it takes a little bit of effort to turn this off because really they want you to be set up to do one-click purchasing where you just tap and say purchase. So go through the effort to find it, to turn it on so that it requires a password. In the case of Google, it'll actually prompt you as you're walking through the setup. Again, gift cards are a great option. It seems like most people have heard of that, but it's a good way to prevent your user or yourself from ever even having to use a credit card online if that's what's concerning to you. Using a filtered web browser is really the only way to see what kinds of websites people are accessing on a mobile device. The existing browsers that are embedded or the other free browsers that are available on the marketplaces will not give you any visibility or any controls, which leads into the second one. You really need an app manager to stop new browsers from being installed, and to also manage the apps that are on the device, because you're going to want to know what apps are being installed and why, and what those apps actually do, which leads into knowing the apps that are installed, like I mentioned in the tips just before. The last one is if you're really concerned about people making changes, uninstalling apps that you have, you can actually block access to the settings through an app manager as well. I work with NetNanny every day, but our NetNanny for Android actually offers all of these options and several more. So it will install a content-filtered web browser where you can do things like look at the block categories, specific websites. It actually has embedded profanity masking as well. So if a website contains profanity, it will actually mask that out so that your family's not exposed to that. It also includes the ability to block all other browsers that are not filtered. So you don't have that concern of someone's just going to use another browser. It will become the default browser in Android if you allow it to, so it makes it easy to tap on a link in an email and it will just open the NetNanny browser for you. It includes an embedded app manager where you can block new applications from running until they're approved. It'll show every app on the device. It'll actually send an alert to a mom or dad or whoever you choose, letting them know, hey, this new application's been installed. This is on the device. You need to come approve it before it's allowed to run. And it also does have the ability to block settings. And it's all managed in the cloud, so you don't have to get someone's tablet or smartphone back to make any changes to the device. That's kind of the overview of what we wanted to cover today. We appreciate all of your time. We hope that this is useful information to you. I want to give you a few resources before I take some time to kind of answer a couple questions. This is the one that I put up at the beginning of the demonstration. These are the webinars that we've had today, the recorded webinars that we've had to date. All these are available online. You can watch them anywhere, anytime. Please feel free to share them with your friends. We hope that it's a useful resource to you. The other one is that we have printed materials as well, and this is all free. These booklets are tips and tricks. They're things that you can download PDF files or print them out, but it's got some great information about how to talk to your family, how to keep them safe, how to create family rules. There's a lot of really great ideas on this. So I'll open up to questions. There's a few questions that kind of came by as I was talking, and I didn't have enough time to actually read them all. So I'm going to take just 1 second and look at these questions, and then I'll try to answer a few. I have just a few minutes left for today's demonstration. Well, first one here. So what if my kids just decide they want to install NetNanny? That's a great question. So NetNanny actually includes password protected uninstall. So if your kids have NetNanny installed on their device, they actually can't just go into settings and uninstall it. It will require that they have the password to do that. That's how we prevent someone from uninstalling it. Another question that I had here was, what if there's a bad app installed on my device? How can I get it removed with NetNanny? So in the case of NetNanny, NetNanny does not have the ability to remove the app, but you can go into the app manager, and I'll jump back to that picture so you can kind of get an idea of what it looks like. And just click on the app. So let's say Blast Monkeys we find out is bad. I click on it, and then from there it's going to be blocked. And when the user taps on that icon, it's actually not going to launch anymore. So even though it's on the device, it could potentially be, I don't know, a malware or a bad app, you can block it. And then from there, you would actually need to get the device back to actually uninstall it. It would help you with that. I'm looking here to see what other ones. What about Facebook and YouTube? That's a great question. So right now, there's no existing technology where you can filter the content on Facebook or YouTube within the Facebook and YouTube apps on Android. So in the case of if you have the Facebook app installed or the YouTube app installed, when your child or family opens it, it's going to open it, and it's a direct line into that Facebook feed or the YouTube videos. What you can do is you can enforce safe search within YouTube. It's a setting within the app. And then you can also use the app manager to block it if it becomes a problem. So in the case of YouTube, for example, the YouTube app is convenient. It's obviously easy to tap on. You can still view YouTube videos through a browser. So what I've done for my 11-year-old is I've blocked his YouTube app, but he can still open the Nanny browser and go to youtube.com and see videos if he needs to. But now I know it's within a filtered web browser, and I don't have to be concerned about him maybe being exposed or going to videos that I'm concerned about. So that's a great question. I think that's all the time that I have today for questions, but I appreciate all of your time. I appreciate you coming. If you do have further questions, I don't know that I will be the person to answer all of them, but I'll leave this screen up here at the end. That's my email address, costler@contentwatch.com. Please send any questions to me. I can get them forwarded to our support team or try to answer them myself, and we will do our best to answer any questions and help you out. Again, thank you for your time today. We appreciate your interest, and we hope this is helping keep you and your family safe online. Thanks a lot. Goodbye.